Hello, good morning, everyone. Well, thank you for being here, for joining us here today. We're going to do a webinar about forest management decision support system, and we will try to do as practical as possible. So you'll see what are we working on and what can be in the future be used. I will start my presentation. Okay. Well, my name is Maria González. I am the project manager of Life Resilient Forest Project, which is the one where this webinar frames. What we are going to talk about today, I'm going to do a brief introduction of the project, and then I'm going to just do a bit, really brief introduction of the DSS tool. What is it? What can we use it for? Why do I need to use it? And then my colleague Alicia will explain you in a practical way the simulation part of this tool. And then my colleague Javier will explain you the optimization part of the DSS tool. So far, it will be finally the coupling of these both parts, what you will see in a practical way. And of course, we'll have time for questions. And please remember to use this Q&A section where you can post questions, and we will try to answer them all. Well, this the Resilient Forest Project is a project that tries to promote forest management under a catchment scale to improve forest resilience to both fire, water scarcity, and so far these effects induced by climate change. We are partners from 5 different institutions. I'm from Universidad Politécnica de Valencia, and we are the coordinators of the project. Then we have partners from Portugal, from ADAI. Then we have partners from Jülich Institute from Germany. Then from Belgium, EUVIA, which are the ones organizing this webinar. Thank you for that, by the way. And finally, from Serra City Hall, which will be the first one trying and applying this DSS tool. The goals of the project are developing this decision support system to help to plan and execute forest management under multi-objective and a multi-objective point of view. Of course, as all life projects, we want to develop it, but we also want to demonstrate that it works, and we want to apply it. So what's this DSS tool? For us, is we have designed it like an equalizer where the user chooses among different management goals. In this case, we select fire, climate change, water budget, biomass production for sure, and other ecosystem services. The user will be the one who gives the relevance to all these objectives, like an equalizer. And then the tool will give you a set of optimum possibilities of management. So what is it? It does bring together, on the one hand, a multi-objective management approach that it includes carbon, water, fire, and other ecosystem services. And it combines this approach with a decision support system. So what can I use this tool for? Well, I'm going to use it, or that's actually what we're already doing. We're planning forest management in order to, for instance, optimize biomass production, also water budget, but reducing as well fire risk, and improving or increasing the climatic resilience of the forest. And also we can play with other objectives like biodiversity or landscape value and so on. So far, what we want to do is answer this typical forest management questions. How much or how intense is going to be my forest management? Where am I going to apply it, or where will be optimum to apply this forest management in order, for instance, to decrease fire risk and increase biomass production and water budget? When will it better to be applied? And last, how? Do I have to, for instance, remove the worst trees or the bigger trees, or how can I design it? So I'm going to solve all these questions using this tool, but how? How does it work? What's the scale? This tool works from stand to catchment scale, always spatially distributed. The management goals will be up to 4. And by now we have our production, biomass production, CO2 sequestration, fire risk, climatic resilience, and we're developing biodiversity. The user will be the one that establishes the relevance of the objective according to the expertise or the site needs. The decision variables will be the ones that I just saw you in my previous slide. How much will be my forest management? When should I apply it? Where and how? And by now, the tool as it is right now, which is in its beta version, combines the optimization algorithms with 2 eco-hydrological models. The first one is TETIS or eco-TETIS, developed by the UPB, and the other one is RESIS, developed at the United States. Then when you combine these 2 worlds, the world of optimization algorithm and eco-hydrological model, you will obtain a list of possible optimum solutions. What do I need to use it? Despite the fact that my colleagues Alicia and Javier are going to explain you right after me in detail every point that I need to have or I need to develop to use the tool, in general, I will need, on the one hand, on the simulation part, I will need the typical inputs for hydrological simulation, digital elevation model, vegetation, soil characteristics, and for sure climatic data. And on the one hand, I will need to set my priorities. I will need to first to select my objectives, if I have restrictions, and not only select my objectives, but also given this relevance. Combining these 2 things, the tool will give me this list of possible solutions that I will have to study, and it will help me through the decision of designing my forest management. So thanks once again. Now my colleague Alicia will explain you the simulation part. Please keep in mind the Q&A section where you can post all the questions you want, and we will try to solve them all. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for attending this How to Use the DSS Tool C.A.F.E. My name is Alicia García Arias, and I will try to take you through the main steps required for the implementation of a simulation modeling toolbox integrated in the DSS. As a brief overview, I would like to start setting the main objective of this C.A.F.E DSS tool, which is simply to provide the most recommended alternatives within different management options, always maximizing ecosystem services and economic resources for better decision making. In particular, today I am here to explain how we can implement eco-TETIS. As an eco-hydrological model integrated in the DSS, it can analyze the different alternatives proposed and respond, providing impacts on both the hydrology and the vegetation of the basin under analysis. 2 case studies are considered in the project, both located in the Iberian Peninsula. Although temperatures are similar in the Theta and the Caraiset River basins, there are considerable differences between the Portuguese and the Spanish case studies, for example in terms of annual rainfall. Before speaking about the modeling, I will briefly review the ecohydrological characterization required in any basin under this kind of studies. I've selected the Theta case study in which the required information is scarce, and frequently only generic descriptions are available regarding the hydrological characteristics of the basin. Most of the hydrological parameters estimation require a reliable map that represents the topography of the basin. Digital elevation models all over the world can be freely downloaded from the SRTM database with good resolution and quality. Please remember that no matter which is the data source, the hydrological correction of the DEM is usually required by removing false sinks and scoring the river network map. Once we have the corrected digital elevation model, we can analyze several characteristics as the wetness index and the probability to find wet surfaces, or the catchment dynamics. As you can see, Theta River Basin is currently mature, so we can assume the equilibrium between erosion and sedimentation processes. Moving on, we can obtain the slopes map, in this case from 84% to almost null, the draining directions map, the river drains northwest, and the accumulated draining cells map that insinuate the threshold area where the channels begin and the entire basin area, which is about 732 square kilometers. In addition, hill slope velocity can be easily estimated from the slopes map, providing a stationary velocity but which is spatially distributed. Another challenge we must afford in this kind of ecohydrological modeling is the correct definition of the soil's uses, land cover, and the soil hydraulic properties. The coordinate maps from the Copernicus European database provide a good starting point to define the land uses of our basin. Unfortunately, the classification of forestry areas is coarse, so we always review national inventories to complement the coordinate information. In the same way, it's highly recommendable to analyze in detail critical areas as burnt surfaces. As a result, we obtained a more accurate and realistic land cover map that provides valuable information and allows subsequent parameters estimation. The coverage fraction in each pixel is equally important. Several sources can be considered for the establishment of this parameter. In our case, we used the National Forest Inventory, the Copernicus High-Resolution Layers of Tree Cover Density, the Global Bare Soil Map from Landsat, and we finally checked critical areas with satellite images. Finally, we obtained the estimation of the coverage fractions for the Theta River Basin. Other maps, like the initial abstractions, considering both the slope and the land cover, need to be estimated. The effective root depth is calculated considering the limiting depth between the root system characteristic from each land use cover and the depth to bedrock, which can be obtained from the Soil Grids database. We recommend setting the soil hydraulic properties within the 3D soils hydrogrid images that represent each hydraulic property spatially distributed at several soil depths. With this detailed information, we can estimate 3 reference soil water contents that will define the soil moisture retention curve on each pixel. In blue, the field capacity, green, the optimum water content, and in red, the wilting point. And we can do so separating the shallow soil layer and the deeper soil layer to limit the processes of direct evaporation from the bare soil. Considering in addition the saturated conductivity in the different soil layers provided again by the 3D Soils Hydrogrid database, we can estimate the saturated hydraulic conductivity in the static tank and for the interflow. With the hydrogeological units, the basin lithology, and some ranks of permeability reported by Gleason and collaborators, we obtained the percolation capacity map. As you can see, the Theta River Basin has low or very low permeabilities in most of its area, and in consequence, we will manage low levels of percolation to the aquifer in the hydrological modeling. So, once we have reliable inputs and we have a deep understanding of the hydrology of the basin, we are ready to face the model calibration. In this case, we have selected the Ecotetis model that requires calibration of different vegetation parameters and hydrological correction factors. This calibration process will adjust the flows between the different tanks to obtain a projection of the runoff comparable to the observed daily flow during the same period. The idea is to implement the tool so it can provide reliable projection on the different forest management scenarios that consider different alternatives on how much, where, when, and how the management can be done. In addition, since meteorological inputs are provided to the model, we can combine the climate change and the management scenarios to get future projections. In our case study, we calibrated the model between years 2002 and 2005, both included, in the Ponte Caboclo gauging station. We obtained an Clive efficiency of 0.8, which is considered a really good result considering the lack of hydrological information in the basin. The validation of the model between 2006 and 2009 provided also a good efficiency value close to 0.7. Since Ecotetis provides all the hydrological series considered during the period, we can analyze the vegetation average performance in the basin through the evapotranspiration fluxes, divided in direct evaporation from the interception, the direct evaporation from the bare soil, and the transpiration. Additionally, we can check the soil water evolution, both in the shallow and in the deep layers. We can get this time series representative of the entire basin, or we can create this kind of videos that show the evolution preserving the spatial distribution of the variable. This last option can be interesting for the analysis of the vegetation performance. Here you can see the evolution of the leaf area index and the transpiration. In fact, we are these days preparing the multi-objective calibration of the vegetation parameters that will compare the outputs of the model with the soil moisture and the leaf area index observed maps from the Copernicus database. Since we do not have yet the definitive calibration for the theta case study, I would like to show you some results of the analysis of management and climate change scenarios in our second case study, the Carraixet River Basin, just as really brief examples of what kind of information we can obtain with Ecotetis. So in this slide, you can see how the forest thinning intensity causes changes reducing the transpiration and how the soil moisture in the first layer of soil decreased because of the direct evaporation from the bare soil, while it increased in the second layer due to the transpiration reduction. If we want to include climate change effects, we need to go through a bias correction of the precipitation projections, also considering the number of dry days since Carraixet is in a semi-arid environment. Then, providing precipitations and temperatures for the different radiative force scenarios, we obtain the impacts projections for the different analyzed time windows. In this example, the leaf area index, but any variable can be analyzed. These results obtained from Ecotetis are complemented with external wood carbon modeling. Additionally, by regression with the soil moisture, a fire weather index is established. All this information is provided to the DSS tool for as much alternatives as it proposed. Internally, the responses are analyzed to provide the Pareto front that will show the dominant alternatives attending both economic and ecosystem services appreciation or assessment criteria. The final goal of the tool is to provide different plausible alternatives and to allow a much more aware decision. And to guide you through these steps, my colleague Javier has prepared a really nice staging. So I end this presentation and just to say thank you very much for your attention.
Hello everyone, my name is Javier Perez, and to finish with today's webinar, I'm going to show you a practical demonstration of the DSS tool. The content of this presentation consists on the following points: graphical user interface, combination of simulation and optimization, result, graphical display, thinning distribution map. Well, starting with the graphical user interface, it is necessary to say that it's not yet developed. At the moment, the tool works by the command console or Python script, but it is clear what its interface should contain. The point that they must contain are grouped in two blocks. The first block is for selection. Here, the user must complete at least 4 sections, starting with the localization of the input directory of the variable needed for the simulation. These are the input and output of the model generated by TETIS, RESI or CLM, where they are calibrated. Then he must select the restriction of or constraint he wants to implement in the optimization. This can be slope or area or stand number. This means the range of the thinning is limited depend on the slope of the stand, or the area of the operation is limited. After this, select the metric objective and see if you want to maximize or minimize each objective. The objective variable can be very varied and are grouped in the following block: biomass, carbon stock, water, fire rate, biodiversity, or resilience. The user can select a maximum of 5 at a time to enter into the optimization. To finish this block, the user must select the optimization algorithm that he prefers to use. By default, the NGA2 is selected because it's the most common. The second block is for visualization, the result. This is formed by 3 sections: the console, where the iteration are sheet it shows the value of thinning and the metric. Second one is an interactive visualization window where the user can filter solution keep the definitive one. And finally, a window to see the thinning distribution map of the solution selected by the user. The next point is to see the combination simulation and optimization. Here, we will see how the DSS console will show the thinning value that the optimization algorithm selects for each stand in each iteration. In addition, to see the value of the metric obtained with this thinning in each iteration. This repeats as many times as the algorithm needs to obtain the best solution, when it finishes with the necessary iteration. The best 100 solutions are shown. In this example, you can see how in the first iteration the metric values are the following: total biomass, total water, total sequestration carbon, okay? After this, we can see the next iteration. There is a new list of stamps with the thinning one. Okay, which will be applied in the next simulation. After the simulation, the new metric of the interest are calculated. Okay, as you can see, the value of the metric and the thinning change in the each iteration. Okay. When the necessary iteration have been complete, the console shows the list of possible solutions. As I said, the optimization shows the 100 best solution. All of them are valid and no one is better than other. Okay, this information is important. The next point is the graphical display of the result. Here, the user can adjust all the information provided to understand the result and be able to select the best solution and the high criteria and prefer. This window opens when the optimization process is complete and display the previous result on the console. Here is an example of some preliminary result. Okay, there is a problem in the recording of the screen that doesn't let you see the secondary window. Sorry, but this step is easy. Well, I select a file the previous result or show you how you can work with this result. Okay, here the curve of possible solution. You can move the position, the side, or turn it. Okay. Also, you can add the color range of the four objectives because in the curve they are only three H for three variable. Okay, for objective is the color. Also, you can change the position. Okay, you can change the position of the variable in the curve. You can add more elements to understand the result. Okay, for example, the Pareto from, where you can see the connection between the metric and the value in each solution. Okay, you can see the connection between metric. Moreover, you can add the equalize to filter the result, okay, how the user prefer, and you can add the table the metric value for each solution, okay. In order to reduce solution, the user can give priority to one metric. For example, we look for the solution that have the height values of biomass stress and the most water percolate in the soil. Okay, therefore, the most appropriate solution with this criteria is solution 95. Okay. The next point is the thinning distribution map. When the user knows the solution that meet his criteria, the intensity map opens up, which must be done for each stamp for obtaining this metric value. In this case, the user selects solution 95. Here, you can see the spatial distribution of this solution and the percent of thinning for each stamp. Okay. To finish with this presentation, we'll see what happens if another selection criterion is applied. In this other case, we give less preference to biomass and water, okay? To obtain high values of the carbon sequestration, okay? Therefore, the appropriate solution is 26. Okay. And the distribution map of the thinning will be follow the solution 26. As can be seen, the stand have different values of the thinning, different intensity in each stand, okay, in this solution. Well, this is all. I hope you like it. And if you have any question about me or my college, we will be happy to hear from you.
Well, thank you very much, Javier and Alicia. It was a very nice presentation. We have, I can see in the Q&A questions, we have no questions. Well, it means maybe we explain it so well, there's no questions about it, or people is just thinking about it. I have one question just to make clear where we're going with the tool and where are at this point right now, because, well, I didn't say it. We are in the first half of the project, so this tool is not completely developed yet. We are in a way, so that's why we will love to receive your feedback. So it will help us a lot to improve it and to include all the things that maybe we didn't consider. So my question is for Javier. Javier, right now, sorry, well, which questions about forest management are we addressing right now? From the ones Alicia and me show in our presentation.
At the moment, we have developed two questions of the question the forest management. At the moment, we have to do how much and where is necessary to apply the thinning. The next word is to apply when and how. Okay. At the moment, this tool work with TETI and resist and different metric. For example, biodiversity and fire risk will be developed faster, no?
Okay, thank you, Javier. We have one question from the audience. I think it's more for Alicia. I'm going to read it. It's in your model. Do you see any change of climate, for example, disturb for contamination?
We didn't consider yet any contamination issues, but we established the impacts considering different scenarios of climate change. Different projections from different global and regional models are available for our case studies from the European database of climate change. And we can introduce this data, these projections for the future into the ecotetis model through the meteorological data series. So as I explained in the presentation, you must go through a bias correction of the precipitation data series, and then you can introduce into the model temperatures and precipitations in order to obtain the impacts projection. You can obtain projections of biomass, of the leaf area index, of transpiration, of many variables with ecotetis, and then those results are included into the DSS. I'm not sure if I answered the question, Magali, maybe.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. I think you have. There's a new one that says from Claudia, how are the models tool adapted to cover the different realities of different countries? I don't know if do you want to answer, Alicia, or?
Yes, fortunately, nowadays we have many global databases that allow to make a proper parameters estimation to implement the model. National networks also provide more or less good meteorological data series. So the implementation of the rainfall runoff models is much more suitable these days than, for example, 10 years ago. Nevertheless, it depends on the country. You have to take into account that not every country has the same information. So you will be forced to adapt to the data you have available to the implementation of the model. But I think nowadays we can get a good approximation or good projections to get the DSS implemented. I'm not sure if you want to complement my answer, Maria.
Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, it was a great answer. I just want to add just a little comment here. Well, the tool now is coupled to eco-hydrological models and will be very soon coupled to a third one. So that's also our way to try to adapt to different realities, ecological realities and also social realities. So it will depend on where you are, and as Alicia said, the data availability, you will have at least 3 models to choose, and these models are process-based models, so they actually don't mind where they are. I mean, the process, they represent the processes, and you just have to feed them with the correct input data. So that's more or less our way. We have from parsimonious model, which is the one Alicia explained to you. Which, by the way, we wanted to start with this one because it's the one that needs a lower level of input information, not input information, but parameters to be calibrated. And we move from this model to RESIS, which is a bit more complicated and needs a lot more parameters, and to CLM, which is also more complicated. So it will depend on where you are. You will have these 3 options to adapt to your site. Well, I don't see any more questions. I will ask Alicia, because I think it's quite interesting. If Alicia could remind us, where can we find part of these inputs she was talking about in her presentation? Because usually people that is going to apply or to use this tool, maybe they don't have field data. I mean, we have field data because we are researchers, and we always collect data. But when you're a practitioner, you might not have this data. So I will ask Alicia to remind us, where can you get this data, at least in a European frame?
Sure, Maria. That's a very nice question because it's not easy to find the information immediately. I would recommend, first of all, to review national networks for information distribution, because usually the spatial resolution is better, and they are frequently based, the results are, or the data is frequently based on national studies, very specific. So my recommendation would be first review national networks. After that, we can check European databases. Nowadays, we have currently we have many databases for example, soil hydraulic parameters. I would recommend the 3D soils hydrogrid database. There you can find many soil parameters, and as I explained in the presentation, they are spatially distributed with good resolution, but also you can find these soil hydraulic properties for different soil depths. That allows us to make a much more accurate estimation for each pixel on the performance of the physical processes that will take place into the soil matrix. Also, you can find the soil grids database, where you can find another set of properties and parameters that would be very interesting. You can also check for the lithology, the GLIM database. It's a very nice database with very accurate lithological information. I think it's all over the world. And for sure, you should review the Korean maps. The Korean database is a very huge database that contains many maps for many years, and it covers a lot of variables that would be very interesting in order to set the well, any eco-hydrological model implementation. So I think more or less that would be my recommendations.
Thanks, Alicia. Actually, that's very interesting, because what we want to say here is, well, even if you don't have this, accurate data from field, like transpiration and so on, you can always rely on information Alicia just mentioned in order to use the tool. Actually,
sorry that I interrupt you, Maria, because
no, it's okay.
But it is really interesting also to search for specific studies on your case study, on your basin, because many times there are different studies that do not provide quantitative information, but also descriptions, general descriptions on the hydrogeology of the basin, or the characterization of the lithology. Can be really interesting in order to make a decision for the parameters estimation, because as you can see in scientific papers, we can find several ranks, but okay, this is a huge rank. What value should I select? So these kind of studies, many times written in the national language, are interesting to be reviewed also. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's great. Thank you for that. And we'll make sure when we have next version of the tool, the one that will be more user friendly and which will be coming out soon, we'll make sure to include this information Alicia just said, which is really interesting, in order to make it easier for whoever wants to use the tool to look for the information that it's need to be included. And I have one more question and one more thing to clarify.